Today, we're looking at the project, The Hidden Cost of Commutes. This is an interactive exploration of how daily commutes in Pennsylvania affect the planet and our future. Every day, over 6 million people in Pennsylvania commute to work. On an average, their commute times is 10 minutes each way. This is about 510 million hours lost annually. But there's a bigger cost that we don't see. About 2.2 million tons of CO2 being released every year. This is Pennsylvania's hidden climate burden. So our first interactive tool lets you put in your commute details and judge your carbon footprint. For instance, someone with a commute time of 15 minutes has about 4.4 tons of carbon released every year. We also compare this to relatable facts like round trip from LA to New York City for easier comparison. Then we visualize where exactly in what county are these major readings coming in from. So for instance, Philadelphia, Montgomery, and Allegheny all seem to have the highest concentration of both businesses and workers. Thus, they have the highest emissions. They all have the same average commute times, but their per capita CO2 emission varies significantly. This tells us that commute time does not relate to how much emission a person is causing. Then we look at the top 3 emitting counties, which is again the same that I discussed. The metro divide. Here we look at how commute time relates to CO2 release per person. Here we look at Philadelphia, which is striking because a quarter of people here use transit every day, but the average commute time is also higher. Whereas Harrisburg, there's a lower commute time, but only 3% of the people use transit every day. So this tells us that CO2 emissions are not only linked to your commute times, but also the availability of options for transit that you have. For instance, having more public transport versus being on your solo car ride. So what if we all change? This interactive tool lets us see how changing in percentage of shift to a public transit would have reflected on the CO2 reduction. Also, we can use the slider to see how increase in remote work would reduce the CO2 emissions. We also compare this to equivalent of cars getting off the street, the trees planted, or the flight equivalents. This is also visualized here on the new model split bar chart. Then we look at work from home trends collected from the census data. This is from 2016, which had only a 5% work from home percentage in PA. This raised all the way up to 21% in 2021, representing that if we all come in together, we can make change happen and it's possible. Then we look at counties in Pennsylvania that are really doing well in terms of low carbon footprint, such as Centre County, which has a very good bike infrastructure. Montgomery has really good, strong regional rail network, and Center City with walk, bike, and transit shares of 65%. Then we look at our own commute and the impact that it has on emissions and suggest options that one person has in order to switch to transit or move over to remote work or move somewhere closer and help them with links for so. Lastly, we end on a bottom line where reducing 20% of your commute reduces 3,000 million tons of CO2 annually. Ending with some related